All right. We are back with part 2 of this episode to talk about the NFL draft. It's Monday. It's over. Done. All right, Becca, kick us off. Where do you want to go?
Okay. I think we should open with, well, first off, was there anything that surprised you on Thursday night at the start of the draft?
Well, yes, I would say I was surprised and didn't write the number down. Oh no, I did. 6 of the first 12 picks were quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think we knew for sure 4, and I kind of I don't know. I was super surprised by that. The other thing I was super surprised was there was not, and if these facts are wrong, people, I do apologize.
It's been a few days.
It's been a rough one, but I wrote down that not one running back was selected in the first round.
That surprised me because some of these teams needed it.
Yeah, I mean, that got me. I think those were my 2 biggest surprises. And well, I would say because we kind of hinted at the end of last week's recording of this that we thought there were going to be a ton of trades, and there really overall weren't.
No, that was the thing that surprised me the most at the beginning is I was like, oh, we're not making trades here. It feels like more on the back end. People were making some trades down the line, but I really thought we'd see a little bit more movement on the first 10, but we really didn't.
Well, and I will say, looks like Detroit broke the record that Nashville did hold for the most amount of people. It did look like, I saw there's like between 700 750,000 people. It looked like the whole city of Detroit was there. And in a town where that's not safe,
right.
More power to you, but nobody's dead. Like when I saw that many people in Detroit, I was like, oh no.
Right. Listen, I saw something where it was like a picture with the whole crowd and everything. And it was like, can someone please explain this picture to the Europeans that are not used to what a draft is? Like all of these people come hang out to hear someone read names off a list.
Yeah, for like theoretically 31 teams they don't like because they're probably just a team of one team. Yeah, it is a weird deal. But I think those were my big surprises. What about you?
Yeah, I was surprised just the lack of trading that I saw. I really thought there would be more just because there were some bigger names. And there were some teams that drastically needed some help this year on some of those big positions. So I thought we were going to see more of that. But then I think overall, just my biggest surprise of the night was what the Falcons did with their first pick.
Yeah. So the Falcons just recently paid Kirk Cousins. What was it? 180 million, or am I dreaming that?
180 million contract with 100 million guaranteed for 4 years.
Okay, so let's start there. That alone was a bit surprising, just based off he's coming off an injury. He's not a spring chicken. He's never produced, massively. He does consistently, but not like, we're not talking about a Mahomes here.
Right. So they got the Super Bowl.
They needed somebody, though. Like, we know they needed somebody. And he was probably a good pick for them. But then they go after Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback from Washington State, who I love. I think okay, so I think / thought he was going to be the one to produce the most as a rookie quarterback. But now that he's behind Kirk, Kirk could get hurt again. Let's be honest. Yeah. But I think it's an unfortunate spot for him to fall because in theory, they're going to have to let Kirk ride out his contract if he stays healthy.
Right. And I think what they came out and saying their thought process is they are worried about their depth and we want to have somebody great as a backup. And we want to, once Kirk's done, like we already have somebody in place. I get that. Yeah. However, you just invested $100 million guaranteed into somebody that honestly could have retired this year. Like that's how far into his NFL career he already is. So either you realize we just made a gigantic financial decision on this guy and we know he's probably not going to last maybe even a full season, so we need to go ahead and have this person backed up, or you're going to have probably one of the best QBs that was in the draft and you're going to ice him out for 4 years. That doesn't make sense either. So then you have to pick up his guaranteed 5th year on his contract, pay that out, and then hope he's just as good in 5 years as he would be ready today.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. They had a whole big hullabaloo too on the coaching situation. It was very strongly rumored they were going to get Belichick, and then there was apparently beef about that. And so I don't really know what's happening in Atlanta, but it ain't good. If you're a Falcons fan, you should look elsewhere. Is all I can tell you. I mean, I was going to bring up a point that I'm actually trying to verify is still accurate, but okay, it is not as accurate, but it's still pretty accurate. So we're obviously SEC football fans. I don't have a lot to be a fan of, but I mean, I'm still holding that hope. But your Missouri Tigers, 3 draft picks.
I know. They had a solid team this last year, though.
I mean, that is impressive. So Alabama had 6, Georgia had 6, LSU had 4, but then Missouri coming in at 3. There was not a Razorback drafted. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Listen, the SEC led with 25 picks, which no surprise to me.
Yeah.
Big Ten was in second with 20. Pac-12, I always get confused because it should be Pac-10 in my head. It should be 17. ACC had 15. Big 12 had 13. But the FCS schools kind of came through. I mean, there was a guy from Houston Christian that got drafted. Like,
I saw there were some of these tiny schools.
We couldn't even get an Arkansas boy drafted, but sure. Sounds right. Sounds right. Feels good. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I did see where Texas had, let me confirm this number. I have written down that they had 11. Let me double check myself here.
They had quite a few this year.
Oh, I only have 5. Is this the first round? What am I looking at? Michigan rises behind strong day. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm way off. I wrote down that they had 11 players selected, the most in modern history. That could be fake news. I don't know. I don't know where I got that, but okay. Let's switch gears. There's something else I want to talk about with this.
Okay.
The sons of NFL legends getting drafted this time. Maybe this happens every year that there's a bunch of them, but I felt like this year there really were a bunch of them.
I think it happens, but it's players on like the defensive line or offensive line that you just don't really know those names.
Yeah.
So it's not as big of a deal made in the media. But yeah, we had some bigger names.
Well, man, I kind of felt old on a few of them. So Terrell Owens' son, I would assume you say Tariq, went to Missouri State. He got drafted to the 49ers. That one made me feel old. I don't know why, but just it.
Because when it's players that we remember watching as kids, and we're like,
oh okay, great. Jerry Rice's son, Brendan, who was a wide receiver from USC, got picked up by the Chargers. I really thought that the 49ers would go after him just based on like legacy. And I don't know, because Brendan dropped really far in the draft. And I also read a story that did you read the story about how he was actually like on a flight on the way to his best friend's funeral?
I did.
I hate that for him. And while he was dropping, like, God, geez, kick him in when he's angry. Jeremiah Trotter's son is a linebacker from Clemson. He got picked up by the Eagles, which makes sense. He was an Eagle. And then Frank Gore's son from Mississippi Southern, Frank Jr., going to the Bills. And, of course, Frank played for the Bills, too. Those were the 4 that I wrote down. There may have been more.
There was, Ed McCaffrey.
Oh, yeah.
Dad. His
Again,
brother.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, I would hate to be somebody like Christian McCaffrey's brother.
It's one thing if Ed McCaffrey's your dad. People in this day and age don't really remember his record or anything. But when they're like, oh, you're Christian McCaffrey's brother, there's an expectation there.
And, I mean, he's coming from a smaller school. He went to Rice. Of course, he could have gone to Houston Christian, apparently, and got drafted. So, I mean, whatever. But he went to the Commanders. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And again, a lot of things, you know, a lot of people get drafted that honestly never see the light of day in the NFL. I mean, so you just never know how things could fall. But I was pretty excited about the Chiefs draft picks.
Listen,
Listen,
how did they land?
I don't know what the NFL was thinking. And
the Bills should have been moving heaven and earth to make sure that they got a pick before the Chiefs.
Wow. I mean, so we get Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver from Texas, who literally is the fastest man to ever run in the draft. I'm super pumped about him. He had his 21st birthday party at Arrowhead on this
How
weekend.
cool is that?
I was like, we should have gone. I thought that would have been good. I'm also super excited about Jared Wiley, the tight end that they picked up. He ran a 4.6 at the combine for a 6'6", 250 dude. That's huge, but they compare him a lot to Travis. He went to TCU.
That's like a tattooed young version of Travis. He's got the potential to be really good for them.
I'm also excited about, here I go trying to pronounce something. Hunter Norzad. Feels good.
Right.
Now listen, he may not have gone to the biggest school, but he didn't give up one single sack last year in 13 starts as a center. So, I mean, we obviously have a center in Creed Humphrey, but if he happened to go down, unfortunately, that's not a bad guy to have. And then also, if you're not familiar with how the NFL draft works, so we draft, and then there's a bazillion players that, of course, didn't get picked. And so a lot of people get picked up then in what they call a UDFA verbal agreement, like a undrafted free agent.
Right.
And we got some good ones on that. Curtis Jacobs, that was the linebacker from Penn State. A lot of people had him ranked as one of their best linebackers in the whole draft. Yeah. So I'm not mad about it, is what I'm telling you.
No.
I thought Brett Veach, again, his madness always confuses me in the moment.
But then it makes sense.
It's like done. I'm like, okay, that's good. Yeah. The fact that the NFL teams let Xavier Worthy go to the Chiefs, you will regret that day. I'm just like,
I mean, having him, you've got Hollywood Brown, you still got Rashee Rice for right now.
For at least
Chico. We've got speed there.
Well, here I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction. We'll come back hopefully next February after the Super Bowl that we've won a third one in a row. I'm going to tell you that I think this is going to equate to a big season for Travis if he can stay healthy, because now they're not going to be able to triple team him, because if they do, they're going to get killed on the edges. Yeah. And so go ahead and do it. If he can stay healthy, though, I think this could be a big deal for him.
Yeah.
Our new long-haired Travis. Listen, Becca doesn't feel good about it. I'm feeling pretty good about it these days.
I can't, this in-between phase, I need him to grow it out and fix it or just shave it back off. I don't see the vision yet.
He is not looking too bad in that navy suit with a white shirt. Anyway, let me get back to the topics. The other team that I wrote down that had something interesting, the Patriots drafted 8 players, 7 of which were on offense, 2 of which were quarterbacks. Now, here's the thing. They need a quarterback. They got Bailey Zapp, and that's probably not going to get us very far. So I thought the pick for Drake May was a good one. I think he fits the Patriot way, and I think he's a smart kid. But then to go get Joe Milton later on, I did not understand.
No.
I don't know. I'm very confused by this. I'm confused going 7 out of 8 on offense, because it's not like their defense is a lot to write home about.
No. Again, it's one of those, I want to be in the room where you're making the decision.
Yeah.
Just what is your thought process there? Because they clearly think that their weaknesses in areas that they don't have, or maybe they thought we've got players on the practice squad that we can bring up this year. I don't know.
Well, and so what you have to watch now with the NFL, now that the draft is done, and I bet most of the unrestricted free agents are done with who's going to get picked up. So now we still have all these people who are free agents that have not been picked up. People like Odell Beckham Jr., Michael Thomas from the Saints. There's some big names out there, but it's heavy on the offense. And so I keep thinking, well, maybe they were going after, I don't know what they're doing, but it makes sense.
I also thought it was interesting. So Denver Broncos got
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is who they picked up. Who are you starting, guys? Like, we got Bo Nix and Zach Wilson.
So I saw a meme. I don't think I sent this one to you, but maybe I did. It was a meme. It was a picture of Zach Wilson and Bo Nix, like merged together, and it said the first ever quarterback room to be sponsored by Vineyard Vines. Hang on 2 seconds. Sorry for the small intermission there. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on, but the Vineyard Vines thing. So the first quarterback room to be sponsored by Vineyard Vines. They kind of look alike in the face.
They could be cousins.
Cousins that I don't listen. I'm going to go with Bo Nix.
I am too. I honestly think
I am not a Bo Nix fan. I feel like he sunk my ship with Gus Malzahn in Auburn, and so I've always been anti Bo Nix. But in that room, I mean,
he's your best option, which is crazy
good.
In an NFL quarterback room when you've got 3 other potentials that are veterans, and then you've got the new guy, and you're like, oh, I think we'll stick with him.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what some of these teams are doing with quarterbacks. I don't understand why the Giants didn't get a quarterback. Daniel Jones is who we're hanging our hat on.
Listen, that is a train wreck. And who's his backup now? Because didn't they get rid of Tyrod Taylor?
I think they did. And Jones was out almost all of last season with a neck injury.
He's still not back. He's still not good to go. I'm looking it up real quick. This is on the fly.
The quarterback should have been our first pick. But they took a wide receiver first.
Oh, maybe Tyrod Taylor still is there. Not that that's a lot to write home about, but
they did last year.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of weird stuff going on. The other team, I'm surprised. The Raiders went with Brock Bowers, who's a great pick, but they also drafted last year the best tight end in the draft last year. Like, what are we trying to do here, people? You can't. I don't know who's going to be throwing them the ball. That weird guy with the mustache, Gardner Minshew. I don't know. Like, what are we doing?
I'm not sure.
I do. Go ahead.
I was going to say the Bills grabbed a wide receiver and a running back first. Potentially, if Josh Allen can hold it together this year, maybe that will help them some.
Listen, though, if you couldn't make it with Stephon Diggs, I don't know.
I think that had to have been more of like a him and Allen issue. They just never connected. And Stephon seemed always upset. And it was almost like he was trying to make Allen look bad. I'm like, but your whole team is suffering.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if this helps at all.
I want to give some flowers today to someone that I don't know that I have ever given flowers to.
Okay.
A gentleman by the name of Nick Saban.
Well, hold on. We just got to take this in for a minute. Let that sit.
Yeah. Just let it sit with you because Nick Saban has now, his coaching career is allegedly over. He's produced 133 draft picks while he was at Alabama. 37, also known as 47. Jeez. 47 first rounders, number one overall quarterback, 3 first round Heisman winners. But what he needed at this draft, he needed a kicker and Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick. And he got both in this draft. So that means that he had at least one player at every single position drafted from Alabama. And
that's wild.
I can go ahead and say that's impressive. Now, I don't know what he had to do to make that happen. I don't know what souls he sold to the devil, but that's impressive. I will say that is pretty cool.
Yeah. And he did a good job so far with analyzing that he's done on TV. I feel like he's kind of loosened up a little because at first I was like, he's probably going to be a little too stiff, but I feel like he did a good job.
I like him so much more than I like Belichick.
Yes.
Doing
Belichick's just awkward. I think he doesn't know what he wants to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not loving him, but yeah, I thought Nick was pretty good.
It's the thing with Belichick. I think he has a lot of hatred towards a lot of people who are still in general manager roles, owner roles. Yeah. And I think he's mentally having that, like, constantly, don't say this, don't say that, don't go down this route or allude to this. So once he's free of all that, maybe he'll loosen up. We shall see. Did you see? It must have been on ESPN. Kurt Warner was doing some of it.
Yes. Yeah. On the Rich Eisen's program.
Did he get hair plugs? Because his hairline's looking good.
I didn't
I feel like
expect you to
he's
say
too old to have it so full.
Yeah, no, I did not I didn't notice that. I just they were kind of picking at the parts that I noticed him, they were kind of picking at him like, what do you think of that, Kurt? Like kind of like all the guys that were doing more than he might have been. I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of this, have you seen via social media Isaac Rochelle is somebody that I saw that went to this. Apparently the NFL put on like a media training thing for players to like help them prep for like post NFL careers, potentially broadcasting.
Oh, interesting. I had not seen that.
So I don't know who or how. I need to look more into it, but I don't know how anybody got invited. But Isaac Rochelle, I saw on TikTok, was invited and he went and he loved it. He said he's still trying to, of course, get picked up somewhere, but it was super helpful and he really enjoyed it. And I saw there were several other players that I would say are, towards the back end of their career that went to it as well. And it was like, I saw some clips of it. I mean, it was literal like broadcasting interview training, like teaching them how to do it. I thought that was a pretty cool idea.
That's interesting. And what a good thing to do because a lot of these networks are going to be the ones that pick them up. So might as well make sure that they're good. That's great.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. And there's several we could get rid of right now. So I'm for it. I did share an article with you. I don't know if you took a look at it by Warren Sharp. I always think of well, that is that guy's name, isn't it? Warren
Sapp.
That's I always get confused, but it's not by him. It's Warren Sharp, where he basically broke down. And again, this gets into some math, so I kind of checked out at that part. But essentially, they like assign a numerical number to each team based on their draft picks. Like each draft pick got some numbers, and they put them all together and created this what they call a draft capital over expectation. Which is apparently their expected capital, but to be used on a player versus actually used. I don't know what any of that means. But essentially, it tells you what your most valuable 2024 NFL draft class is. So I think it has to do with like, was this a solid pick or was it a reach or kind of a bust pick?
Okay.
And so he made this chart that references all 132 teams and ranks them. And it was interesting. One of the things that was interesting, so his top 10 in order, so like the best going down, he had Lions, Dolphins, Chiefs, Steelers, Eagles, Saints, Ravens, Broncos, Vikings, and Rams. Those were his top 10. I was a little surprised by the Dolphins. Again, I'm very surprised by a lot of things they're doing. They seem to be really going after speed, which, okay. Yeah. But you already have Tyreek Hill, so it makes me feel like they think he's probably, yeah. So I was a little surprised by the Dolphins being in it too. Again, I have no idea what the math means behind this, but now I will say the last 6, so 27 through 32, or is that 5? 49ers, Colts, Patriots, Cardinals, Jaguars, and Falcons. I did not think that the 49ers drafted very well.
I didn't either. But I also wondered if they were just like, we could have some depth here or do something there.
Well, they got again, trying to pronounce somebody's name. They got Ricky Pearsall. I think that's how you say it, the wide receiver from Florida. And he's good.
Yeah.
But also, like, that was kind of the biggest thing they got. And you've already got Debo and you've got Brandon Ayuk. I mean, allegedly both of them are staying. Of course, every day you look at something new with the two of them.
Right.
You got Kittle, you got McCaffrey. I don't know. I don't guess I get it. I don't know. I felt like their draft was weird.
It also makes you wonder if they were drafting based on moves that they know they're making before the season starts.
Well, I think they might be looking ahead. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think several of those names I just said, they're big players. And I think even some of their big defensive players, I think this is contract year.
Oh.
And so, I mean, I would think that Kittle is going to want to retire there. So he's probably fine to like re-up. And then I think McCaffrey's happy. I think something is going to happen with Debo and Brandon I mean, I think potentially one of them's gone before the season starts, but we'll see. Those were kind of the notes that I had written down. Do you have any other nuggets of wisdom?
No, those were I think we mentioned all the big ones. It'll just be interesting. I think the quarterback game is going to be interesting in a lot of these teams this year to see. Obviously, preseason, they're going to start their newbies just to get them some reps, but to see once the season starts, who are we actually going with here?
Yeah.
So,
well, this was our hodgepodge episode. Now I shall go try to figure out how to put everything together. Godspeed to y'all listening on Tuesday tomorrow. But I think that's all we've got.
yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.